Good evening, folks. How are we doing? Shooting this a little late, so my lighting's a little different than it was before. I have to wait till the kiddos get to bed before I get to do anything. So anyway, welcome to week 3 of UkeLab Ensemble. Today we're going to be focusing a lot on the advanced part. We put a lot of time into the intermediate part, I think, working through those melodic phrases. If we have time today, maybe we'll drop into that B section, but I really think the B section is actually easier to play in terms of melodic phrasing. So if you're already on your way on an A section, then definitely take a look at that B section. It's really, rhythmically, it's a lot simpler, even though you are jumping outside of that open position into those higher frets. So one thing I wanted to mention too, I've been mentioning at the top of every class, really try and use this format to your advantage. These pre-recorded classes, I think that you can benefit a lot by, stopping and starting, kind of going at your own pace. If there's any moments where you need to do a few more rotations of any exercise you're working on, then you can press pause for as long as you need to. If you need to take a break, if you're rewatching it, you can skip ahead to any parts that are relevant to you. So I don't think this is going to be the last pre-recorded classes that we do. So take advantage of the scenario. I think there's advantages and disadvantages to every learning environment. And so, let's see if we can use this to the best of, use this for the best that of its abilities, being able to, I think, pace things is really important to try and take advantage of. Okay, so let's start. I'm going to start today just taking a look at the advanced part. We'll just dive straight into it. The rhythm in the advanced part is one that's fairly new. The right-handed mute that we're doing, chucking or chunking, a lot of times it's called, that technique itself has a lot of intricacies to it. Usually how I like to sequence it is thinking about it in kind of 3 different parts, right? So the first part we want to do is sort of identify that the movement that we're actually trying to create is a down strum and then covering the strings. Now, the thing you want to try to avoid whenever trying to do a right-handed mute is this like big change in motion, just this. A lot of people think you need to knock on the ukulele or knock like this. It really, what it is it's a down strum and then you mute it, right? And then you actually do that simultaneously to create that right-handed mute, that chuck. So what I want you to think about is first just trying to get the positioning. See how I strum and then all I do is drop my hand. That's the best way to mute your strings. You almost want your down strum to look identical to your chuck, so you don't want your technique to change too much. Now, if you're doing this and when you cover the strings, you're actually hearing an extra sound, then what you're talking about there is placement, right? It just means you're adjusting a little bit where you're placing your hand to try and make that all of those strings get muted, right? The one thing I like to think about is the positioning, right? This is the section of the hand that I'm muting across. Right here, right across the heel of the hand when I cover. So it just looks like this, down and then cover, right? Down and then cover. And remember, really try and make it look as much like your strum technique as you can. The next step or the next phase after you've got a nice solid closing sound is to start to just shorten the duration, shorten the amount of time. So now what you're doing is kind of strumming and then covering the strings even sooner. So just like this. Just try to make that sound as short as possible. See how there you kind of heard that G string ringing out? That means that it's placement, right? If you hear the sound, that's all timing where you cover the sound. Right. And so I think the eventual last little placement here is, or the last little step is to try and make the cover happen at the same time as the fingers going across the strings. Now remember, it's not muting and doing this, right? That's quite a different sound. You're actually covering the strings as your hand comes across. One exercise I like to do when we're working this is just playing quarter notes, chuck on the 2 and then the 4, and then play eighth notes and chuck on the 2 and the 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, then eighth notes, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And I really like that exercise because you're not thinking too much about any type of rhythm that you're needing to play. Remember, if your right-handed mute or your chuck technique needs a little bit of work, try and do it in this more focused environment rather than thinking about trying to do it inside of the repertoire. So let's take a look at the rhythm. I don't have a chance to share screen with this live stream, so you can look at any measure, right? Starting at that D minor 7 or the G7, any of those. Anytime I'm looking at what the rhythm might look like, I like to look at them all as zeros. That way I'm not thinking about what my left hand technique is doing. I'm really just thinking about my right. Now we're going to play a downstrum on 1, ghost note on 2, and then it's up, and then it's chuck, and then it's and 4, and that's sort of the entire rhythmic cycle. Now, one thing is that there's 2 right-hand techniques actually going on here. There's a ghost note on 2. There's a chuck on 3, right? And so there's a lot of challenging things that are happening in this piece. What I like to do is just say, when am I playing? Not what technique or what sound am I playing, but when am I playing? And if I think about it that way, the rhythm's actually fairly simple. It's just 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and, right? All the eighth notes minus the and in between 1 and 2. Let's try a few rotations. 1, 2, ready, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4. Now, the first thing that gives this rhythm a little bit of a difference in sound is that ghost note on 2. So we go 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, ghost. 2, and 3, and finish on 1, right? And now that we've got that ghost note on 2, let's see if we can incorporate that chuck sound. Remember, if you need that right-handed mute to be a little more consistent, then make sure that you're putting some repetitions in outside of the context of the repertoire. So many times when we're doing repertoire, we have too many things going on. I'm trying to do that rhythm. I'm trying to remember what that rhythm sounds like. I'm doing the ghost note on 2. I'm doing the right hand mute on 3. I'm also switching between a D minor 7 chord and then moving to my next chord shape. There's a lot of things that can really clutter the focus that you need, which is really just getting that rhythm solid, right? How does that sound and feel to play? So let's try it again. And this time we'll try and put the right hand mute after a couple rotations. 1, 2, ready, and here we go. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and down, thumb up, down. All right, let's try to put that right hand mute. I'll show you where it goes. It goes 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, ghost up, mute up, down, up. Let's slow that down. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1. Nice. 2 more times. 2, and 3, and 4, and last time. 2, and 3, and finish on 1. So remember, work that right hand independent as much as you can. Think every time I pick up my ukulele, see if you can try and do it 3 to 4 times a day. And by the end of the week, the rhythm's really no problem at all. And when you know the rhythm's no problem at all, when you start to incorporate the left-hand shapes, then you don't have that same kind of screeching halt feeling. It's like you're pounding your head against a brick wall, really trying to make all those things work at once. And if you can commit any one of these skills to muscle memory, then what you'll end up with is a lot higher success rate when you start to compile the skills, when you put them together. That being said, let's see if we can move into some of these chord shapes. Now, remember, the chord progression itself is actually, chord name-wise, it's really the same as what the beginners are playing. we're just finding kind of different inversions, right? Different voicings for each one of these chords. So the first chord is D minor 7, and that's, you know, just a bar across the 5th fret. Looks like this. Now for our G7, and remember, I'm always trying to think about transformation. How does one shape move into the next? And this is actually fairly simple transformation. We just take that pointer finger, we shift it up to the 7th fret, and I add my middle finger to the A string on the 8th fret. There's my version of G7, right? Remember, try and get the chord progression, at least name-wise, you know, memorized as soon as you can. You can look at the beginner part, being able to flow through that progression with some other options, you know, the D minor and the G7 here, right? Those open position chords, it gives you a lot more artillery if you're looking to voice these chords in any different way. So D minor 7, barring on the 5th fret. Now I shift that shape up a whole step to the 7th fret, and I put my middle finger down for G7, right? My next chord is C major 7, right? Here's my C major 7 in an open position. My inversion here, this is a little bit of a tricky chord, and I'm going to give you 2 different options. The first is to put the pointer finger on the 5th fret here, and then your ring finger is going to bar across the bottom 3 strings. Now, if that chord is absolutely impossible for you to play, one other option you can do is this. You know, you get a very similar sound. That G note is slightly different than when I play it this way. And I get a nice full C major 7 sound, but this it incorporates most of the important notes, so you're gonna get away with it. Transformation wise, remember you got D minor 7 here, shift up to G7, and then down. Watch my pointer finger goes back to 5, and my ring finger is barring across 7 on the bottom 3 strings. Let's see if we can try just those 3 with whole notes. 1, 2, ready, D minor 7, 2, ready, up to G7, 2, ready, C major 7. Nice. Let's try that 2 more times. Here we go. Ready. 2, 3, G7. 2, ready, down to C major 7. 1, 2, ready, last time. Bar, D minor. Up to G7. Here we go. 2, ready, switch. Nicely done. Now the last chord we're going to do, and I'm going to give it kind of these four chord chunks that we're going to work on, and then we'll start to add the rhythm, is an inversion of F. So it really comes from this shape, which is barring all the way across the 5th fret and then pinky, but I really love this voicing of this chord. It's basically an incomplete version of that shape. I really love this C chord. It's a G, a C, an F, and then here, I mean an A, and then the F there. I really love this chord. There's your F chord. So if I'm going to add that, remember C major 7 is here, and then I really just drop my fingers. See how my pointer finger drops to the E string? Pinky finger per fret gets up to 8. Cool. So let's see if we can add that whole notes moving through. 1, 2, ready, D minor 7, 2, ready, G7, 2, ready, C major 7, 2, 3, and let's add the F. There we go. Last time, 2, 3, here we go, D major 7, and up to G7, here we go, 2, and ready, we switch, C major 7, 2, and then we play F to finish. Beautiful. Let's see if we can incorporate that rhythm. Remember, we can start with the open strings, slowly add the chords. I'll call out the changes instead of playing kind of the correct durations. We'll stay on these chords for a while, and I'll call them out, give you plenty of warning. 1, 2, the rhythm sounds like this. Here we go. And 1, 2, and up. 1, 2, up, mute, up, down. Just like that. All right, here we go. D major 7. 1, 2, ready, D major 7. G7, push it up, and middle finger down, 8th fret. C major 7, here we go. This is your other option if you want. And now F, finger per fret, it's going to be the pointer finger and the pinky, E string and A string. Nice. Now last time, and just as written, 2 measures each. Here we go. G major 7, G7. Now C major 7, here it is. And to the F chord. And what's nice is we've already played this chord, D minor 7. And the last chord is actually E7, which is not too hard of a chord, right? So after we've kind of done that cycle, that's a little bit tougher. D minor 7 to G7 to C major 7 to this F chord. We actually can cycle through some chords that it might be a little more familiar to us. D minor 7 we played at the beginning. And now all we do is shift this hand, just like we did to the G7 shape. Shift it down a half step this time instead, and then the middle finger goes on the A string on the 5th fret. And there's our E7, right? Now what we've got is a little turn we need to add, right? So we've played the F, the D minor 7, now we're on E7, and now we've got to figure out this ending. But before we do that, let's see if we can kind of incorporate it into our rotation. Now, what I'm going to do here is, let's see if we can put it on the notes. The notes, what I want to look at is these chord shapes. You know, they can, if we can visually see them, it's a lot easier to start to make this map, but make sure as soon, let's see, make sure as soon as you can, really think about trying to get these, you know, down visually on your fretboard. You know, instead of trying to visually see them, visually see them and then try to interpret that information, really try and think about getting the entire movement down when it comes to your hands, right? Let's see here, almost done. Let's just move the whole thing. That's what's bugging me right there. And then duplicate that. Let's put it down here. Sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. And then, okay. Cool. So we'll look at these chord shapes. There is our D minor 7, and that one is going to be on the 5th fret. And then we just take that up, and that bar stays there, and we go to the 7th fret for G7. That's a 7. And then we go here, and we're barring across for the C major 7. And that's the 5th fret there. And then we are going to F, that F chord. And that's the fret there. And we're going to D, right here. And then we drop it to E7. It's 5, it's 4. That's about it for us. Cool, so I'll get those notes, we'll get them over in the Slack so you can have a clearer picture of these chord shapes. But let's see if we can kind of flow through all 6 of those changes that we need to make. 1, 2, 1, 2, D major 7, D minor 7, 2, 3, and G7, 2, 3, C major 7, 2, 3, and now F, and then we go back to D minor 7, and now I shift down a half step, E7 here. That's all I need, right? Those are all my connections. So let's see if we can try it now with the rhythm. Remember, 2 rotations of the rhythm, or 2 measures each for each one of these chords. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and here, D minor, G7, C major 7, and there's your F chord. Now we go D minor 7, and back to E7. All right, so now we need to know a couple of other shapes. We need to know an A minor inversion here, 0, 4, 3, and 2. I'm sorry, 0, 4, 5, and 3. And then we actually go to a really easy version of A minor 7, right? And then we go to this, E7, and then here. Now, when we pivot through this move, we're really just playing quarter notes. And I really like the sound of this kind of pivoting back and forth. What we're going to play is this chord, the G string, this version, E7, I'm sorry, this E7. It's here. And then we hit that harmonic to finish. So this little turn here, A minor 7, I mean A minor, and this A minor, then here. And then you're going to kind of push that E7 up. That's how that little phrase sounds there to finish it. So remember, when we go let me double check this real quick here. So, yeah, that's right. A minor to E7. So that's last two measures. And here I want you to know that it actually changes duration. So instead of playing only one measure here, two measures for each chord, it's actually only one measure. So here, when we're playing these quarter notes, the A minor, that's one whole measure on the quarter notes. Then this, that's one whole measure on the E7. And then we finish with that A minor. And remember that harmonic, we can talk about the technique in a second, but let's kind of do an overview of just that walk. Let's see. A minor 7. Remember, this is a G minor shape that you're pushing up a whole step. You're going to roll through the chord, play the top string, and then play this inversion of A minor, right? Super easy. Just open the strings up. And then you're going to bar across the 4th fret, play the top string, and now shift this bar to the 7th fret. Middle finger goes to the C string on the 8th fret. And then you're going to do the same thing. Roll through the chord and then play the G string. And then up here, hitting those harmonics on the 12th. If you want an easier version of that, you can just bar. And then just playing the inversion of this, right? There are the open strings. This is 12 frets up. So this is, not the inversion, but the octave of this, right? So I'm playing the open strings here. And then 12 is really just moving that up into another octave, but the exact same chord and the exact same notes. So let's see if we can roll through just those last two measures. And if you have something in front of you for visual reference, I'm looking at measure 12, 13, 14. I'm looking at measure 15 and 16. This is kind of the turn right here. So 12, 13, 14. Yeah, 15 and 16, A minor, 2 inversions of that, and then E7, 2 different ways to play that, and then finishing on the A minor 7 on the 12th fret. All right, let's give that a try. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and A, top string, this version of A, E, push that up to 7, top string, and then the harmonic. 1, 2, ready, go. Open, E7, E7, and finish with that harmonic. One more time. 1, 2, ready, here we go. A, top, open, top, E, top, here, and we finish right there. So let's see if we can just do an overview, and then we'll talk a little bit about that harmonic technique. Remember, a valid option as well is you can just bar across the 12th fret and actually play those notes. The harmonic just gives you a little bit more of a bell, kind of a chiming tone. So let's see if we can flow through it then. D minor 7, and if you're looking, we're really just starting on measure 3, right? After that little melody. I'll play the melody too to kind of, give us a little bit of a pickup into it. I'll play. And And then right there on that beat is where we'll be starting on the D minor 7. Remember, our rhythm sounds like this. Da, 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 da. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. D minor 7. Up to G7. And find that C major 7. Here we go. And show me F. And then to D minor 7 again. We've already played that chord. Now down a half step to E7. 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's where we do that run. Ready? A minor top, E7 up. And we hit that harmonic. Nicely done. Let's see if we can try one more time. 1, 2, 3. D minor. And we move it up. G7. And barring with our ring finger, C major 7. And now big open F. Yeah. And back to the first chord. D minor 7. Half step lower. And we bar, add the middle finger. And we do that big finish. Here we go. A inversion here and switch and hit the harmonic. Let's do it one more time, and then we'll get into some technique on that harmonic. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. Here we go. And D minor 7. And push it up. G7. And C major 7, bar with a ring, and to that F, and now we bar D minor 7, and we drop it a half step to E7, and last time we're flowing through the ending. Nicely done. Remember, guys, one really, really nice thing about getting to the end of something like this, right? Getting into the end of a block. And then you listen and you hear that same melody that started off the piece go again. And really, we're just flowing into a repeat, right? It's the exact same thing we just did. All the same chords. We stick with the same rhythms. And then we flow all the way through that A section a second time. That makes our job a little bit easier because really we're playing that A section 3 times total. So we've almost learned 3/4 of the song. And all we got to tell ourselves is that now what we're going to do is move into the B section. And the B section is just going to be a variant, right? We're going to learn a new thing when we're moving into this B section. Let's see, how are we on time? 28:20. Yeah, I think we can probably go into the B section. Like I said, we worked a lot on the intermediate part last week. And so I think for this week, what we're going to try and do is just stick with the advanced part. And yeah, if you have any questions, please feel free. You can post it in the Slack thread. You can also email me. I'll be camping, so maybe you can send me a smoke signal. All right, let's go into the B section. So this B section, what we're going to work on is a set of chords that we might not be that familiar with, and actually we're incorporating a little bit of melody as we're moving through them. So we're keeping our similar rhythm, so let's not focus on that. Right now, let's focus on the left-hand shapes. Everybody remember that chord that we started with, D minor 7, barring across the 5th fret. My replacement kind of in the B section is all I'm going to do is add my ring finger to the A string on the 7th fret. So can you see how this chord is very related, right? It's a very similar chord shape. Now, what I want you to think about is as I pivot into the next chord, which I'm going to say the fret number is 0535. Everybody watch how my hand moves, right? Anytime you're thinking chord shapes, especially new ones, think transformation. How do my hands move from one chord shape into the other? Now, I like to think about my pointer finger and my ring finger sort of occupying the same distance. See how these are a whole step apart? But my pointer finger just drops to the E string. Watch. There's the first part of my chord shape. See how here I'm on fret 5, even though I'm barring, and I'm on fret 7 with my ring. I do the same thing and drop the whole thing down a whole step. See that shift there? Drop, and then my middle finger just occupies the fifth fret on the C string, and I've got my complete chord shape, F major 7 to G7. Now, if you want another reference, this is also like a G7 shape, moved up a whole step, and then kind of spread out. See how it's like a G7, but sort of doing the splits? In terms of shape, that can be another reference. Either one of those that makes sense to you. Let's try some whole notes moving between them. 1, 2, 3, F major 7. And now down here, 0, 5, 3, 5, G7. Here we go again. 2, 3. Remember, as soon as you can, really think transformation. How do my hands move? And how do they feel as they're switching? And then how am I hearing that as well as those chords move back and forth between each other? Yeah. When I'm first making these maps, I really like to sort of stare intently at my hands, trying to create just a flow between them. And then eventually, what you want to do is, as you look away, let the fingertips do more of the work and my hands transitioning. Here you pivot from a bar shape, here more of an open grip into there. Last time, here we go, F major 7. Beautiful. And now down here. So in these two measures, what we're going to be playing is the same rhythm, right? I'll remind you of the rhythm. It sounds like this. Let's try it. Here we go. 1, 2, ready, F major. And now to G7. And now here we're going to change, actually, we're going to change the melodic phrasing. We're going to move up to fret 7. Just go ahead and hear how that sounds. Now remember, if I put my pinky down on 7, my ring finger is kind of negligible. It doesn't do anything, you know, so I don't really need to squeeze that chord anymore. I can kind of open my hand up to get that stretch a little bit more effective, and now I'm using my pinky here. So that ring doesn't need to stay on 5, even though that's the chord shape I was in. When I put that pinky, as soon as I put that pinky down, see how my hand can open up a little bit as I stretch? And then here, right? So that's the move I'm going to do in here. In this second rotation of G7, I'm going to move the melody note up to the 7th fret and then up to the 8th fret. So it's a bit of a stretch. You can work it. Really think, just try and relax the hand as much as you can. Now, right here, the rhythm is going to change slightly. For these next couple of measures, we're really going to try to follow more of a melodic line. And so our rhythm changes very slightly. Instead of playing this, da, 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 now I'm just playing this. I'm playing, right? And you guys are really familiar with that rhythm. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and, right? It's really just repeating kind of the first section of the phrase and then just doing it again. That rhythmic cycle, 1, 2, and from here, instead of going into the chuck and the ups and downs, you're going to just do that over. 1, 2, and 3, 4, and, right? It's that rhythmic cycle. And so we can chase that melody up, those half note hits on 7th, and then up to 8th, right? So what we're playing here is one measure of this rhythm, and then we move it up. Da, 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 da. Right? Just like that. Then we're back into the rhythm and switching into this chord shape. 0, 0, 8, 7. One of my favorite ways to play C. Nice big open C. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to play the rhythm again. Yeah, let's see if we can play all the way through this. Remember, we're keeping our same rhythmic cycle and only making these variations where we want to start to move melodically, right? So F major 7 to start, 2 rotations of that rhythm. 1, 2, ready, and one measure of that rhythm here. Now we chase it up. 7, 8. And let's finish here for now. 1, 2, ready, again. Remember, one measure here. Now we change rhythms, 7, 8, and here to that C chord. And remember, when we hit that C chord, we're getting back into a rhythm that we already know how to play, right? One that, you know, kind of has that standard sort of flow through it. So make sure that you're looking at when these rhythms change and when they stay the same, because especially if we've got some right hand familiarity with those rhythms, then it's not going to be that big of a stretch for us to start to add these left hand chord shapes. Okay, so I kind of skipped through that little melodic phrase that started it out. We'll see if we have a minute to go over that at the last bit of class, but really I'm kind of starting this in measure 35, right? The downbeat there. I'm not really including kind of that melodic pickup. Like I said, we'll see if we can touch on it before we get out of here. But for me, the most important thing is you know, your accompaniment role in the advanced part. That's really your main role through most of the tune, actually. Let's see if we can try it again. 1, 2, 1, 2, ready. F major 7. Here we go. Remember that rhythm. Switch to the G7 inversion. Now we're changing rhythm, 7, 8, and let's go back to that rhythm 4 here. And now here we're going to do another slightly different melody, right? We're going to move up and we're going to play double stop. We're going to play 12 and 10 on the A string. 10 and 8, you're really just taking that 12-10 shape, moving down a whole step, and now we're going to play that same chord that you played here. Now remember, what you're playing is, just go ahead and try to find those melodic notes. 12-10, 10-8, 8-7 on the E string. Again, 12-10, 10-8, and 8-7. Now, when we're flowing through that, really what we're doing is the first part of the different rhythm, right? From right here, you're just going to play da, 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 da. Those 2 quarter notes are when you're moving between these 2 chord shapes. These are all going to be strums here. So I'll go ahead and play. It sounds like this. 1, 2, and 3, and 4, and 1, da, 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 da. So 2 quarter notes there. 3, 4 as you switch between the last 2 shapes. Let's see if we can try just that measure. So it's going to sound like this, right? We're going to play 1, da, da. This measure, 1, 3, 4, and then we're resolving on F. Actually, we're resolving on this F. That's right. So it sounds like this. 1, right? 0, 0, 5, 8 is our kind of resolution. So make sure you can see that map, right? 12, 10, 10, 8, 8, 7, and then here, 0, 0, 5, and 8 to get us into our F chord. Let's see if we can try it. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4, and resolving to that chord. You can play all the strings now. 1, 2, ready, just that measure. 2. Now if we're going to play it with the rhythm, it sounds like this, right? 1, 2, and 3, 4, resolve. 1, 2, just that measure. 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2. Ready again. 1. Yeah, and just for reference, remember guys, the measures that I'm looking at here are, yeah, this is measure 40 that we're playing. Measure 40. So this is as we're walking, and those chord charts above on the sound slice, make sure you're using that as a visual reference to help you at any point, right? Trying to find these shapes, trying to find the frets that you're landing on. Those are a really good visual reference. Let's see if we can try it one more time. 1, 2, ready, and 1. Now, when we land in this position, we're straight back into the rhythm. So let's see if we can review. Everything we've done so far. So F major 7 to G7. Remember, only one measure there, and we play the walking up with the pinky. Then we land here, one rotation, and then yeah, 1, 2, 1, 2, ready, and here 0, 5, 3, 5, one rotation, and we change the rhythm. And switch rhythm, and we change rhythms. 3, 4, and remember, right? We're right back into that rhythm that we had. To me, that's kind of what you want to really concentrate on, because remember, this is the variant. If you can play through the A section, the entire thing, right? From here, really, you're just playing the second half of that A section. As soon as you've kind of done that little walk, then you're going to move from that F to the D minor 7 to the E7, and then you're going to do the same ending, right? The A minor, quarter notes, inversion. That's what I wanted you to see, is the second half of the B section is really just the second half of the A section. So we really got like 8 measures that we have to change here in the B section. I want you to know that all the work you've been putting in, that's going to go to the majority of the song. You really just have to learn this one variation. So before we get out of here today, I want to play it for you one time just so you can hear it. 1, 2, starting from, and now we go to G7, and here we change to the C, and change, and we land here. Now remember, this is just like the F we played the A section, because we go to that D minor 7, and we go to the E7. And remember our ending, quarter. So we didn't have time for that little harmonic hit. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there talking about harmonics. So if it's something that you're curious in, yeah, do a little bit of research on your own. But next week in class, I'll definitely talk more about that. And remember, just as like kind of a placeholder or something that can help you to create at least the sound of the notes, just bar across the 12th fret and play all of those strings. So. Okay, we did a decent amount on time, or a decent job on time. It was great to see you. Sort of, not really. I didn't see any of you, but yeah, so I'll be up in the mountains for the next week. Good luck with this piece and whatever else you're working on in UkeLab. Remember, if you have any questions, please hit me up. I might be out of touch for a little bit, but as soon as I get back, we'll be getting to those questions, and then also we'll be seeing each other next week in class. So thanks so much for your support, all your hard work at UkeLab, and we will see you next time. Okay, bye-bye.